Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about building a digital fortress. You know, when you picture a highly secured enterprise data center, you probably imagine physical guards, biometric scanners, maybe some really thick concrete walls. But out in the digital realm, the true battleground for protecting data actually happens completely invisibly. We're talking about port security. These are the crucial, invisible locks that protect networks from unauthorized access. So we're going to break down exactly how this works, why it matters so much, and how you can actually implement it.
All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the network's numbered doors, how attackers scan for weaknesses, locking down network switches, firewalls and advanced defenses, and finally, essential cybersecurity best practices. Let's jump right in. Starting off with Section 1, the network's numbered doors, and understanding exactly how data travels.
To really get this, imagine a futuristic digital city where streams of data are just traveling at lightning speed between buildings. To get inside any of those buildings, the data needs a very specific entry point. Every single device connected to a network communicates through these ports, which act exactly like physical, numbered doors on a massive office building. A single server might have thousands of these doors, and each one is specifically designated to allow a different type of service to send and receive information. So if data is a delivery driver, the port is the specific loading dock they're scheduled to use. If the data doesn't have the right door to go through, well, it simply can't enter or exit.
Now check out the incredible variety of lanes our data uses every single day. Obviously, you don't have to memorize these, but just look at the sheer variety. If you're browsing a standard unencrypted website, you're knocking on port 80 for HTTP. If you're on a secure site, which hopefully you are, that data flows through port 443 for HTTPS. Need to transfer files? That's FTP over on port 21. Sending an email? SMTP uses port 25. These are basically the standard traffic lanes of the internet, and they keep all our digital communication organized and flowing smoothly.
Moving right along to Section 2, how attackers scan for weaknesses. We know what ports are now, so let's flip the script and look at the network from an attacker's perspective.
Which brings us to a pretty vital question. Why do attackers even bother scanning ports before launching a cyber attack? Well, think of a burglar walking down a neighborhood street in the middle of the night. They aren't just going to randomly throw a brick through the first window they see, right? They're going to quietly jiggle the door handles. They are checking for unlocked doors. In a network, every unnecessary open port is a massive vulnerability. It's an exposed entry point that increases your attack surface. Closed ports remain securely hidden, but an open, unmonitored port, that glows brightly on a hacker's radar.
In an ethical hacking simulation, you actually see the exact playbook attackers execute in real time. It goes like this. Step 1. They run a scan across the network looking for exposed services. Step 2. They identify specific, high-value open ports. And Step 3. Once they find that open door, they target it, looking to exploit weak configurations or maybe some outdated software running on the other side. They aren't breaking the door down. They're literally just slipping through because someone forgot to engage the deadbolt.
Now, if there is one number you should absolutely commit to memory, it's port 3389. If you remember our list from earlier, 3389 is the Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP. This port allows a user to connect to and control another computer remotely. Now, it's incredibly useful for IT support, but man, it is an absolute prime target for attackers. If port 3389 is left exposed and unsecured, an attacker can walk right into the system and take control as if they were sitting right there at the keyboard. Actually, if you spin up an unsecured server right now with port 3389 open, automated botnets will usually find it and start attacking it within a matter of minutes. No joke.
So how do we stop this from happening? Let's get into Section 3, locking down network switches and securing our internal network.
This is exactly where switch port security comes into play to establish internal locks for those digital doors. Imagine a modern enterprise server room. You've got managed switches connecting all the workstations, the printers, the servers. Switch port security ensures that only approved devices can connect by recognizing their unique hardware fingerprint, which is known as a MAC address. So, if someone walks into an office and just plugs an unknown laptop into a wall jack, the switch instantly detects the unauthorized hardware. It immediately disables the port and triggers a blaring unauthorized device detected alert. The door is slammed shut before any data can even move.
And administrators actually have a whole toolkit for managing these MAC addresses. They can go old school with static assignment, where they manually type in exactly which device is allowed on which port. They can use dynamic secure MAC learning, where the switch basically learns the first device plugged in and just locks onto it.
There's sticky MAC addresses, which is kind of this cool hybrid where the switch learns the device dynamically but then permanently saves it to the configuration. And finally, admins can set maximum allowed MAC addresses. That means a port might allow a PC and a phone, but the very moment a third device tries to connect, bam, it triggers an alarm.
But what happens when a violation actually occurs, like that unknown laptop gets plugged in? Well, the switch has to act, and we have a few different violation actions to choose from. First, we have Restrict or Protect mode. These essentially act as filters. They just drop the malicious traffic from the unauthorized device, but they actually keep the port active for the good authorized devices. Then you have Shutdown mode, and this is basically the nuclear option. The moment an unapproved device connects, the switch automatically and entirely disables the port. The door is effectively bricked up until an administrator goes in and manually resets it. Now that internal security is great, but we definitely need more than one wall. That brings us to Section 4, Firewalls and Advanced Defenses. It is time to layer up.
If port security on a switch is the lock on an internal office door, the firewall is the heavily armed security guard out at the front gate of the property. Firewalls are constantly filtering all incoming and outgoing traffic based on a really strict set of rules. They ensure that only the necessary, approved ports remain open to the outside world. So when malicious traffic or a cyber attack hits the firewall, it is forcefully blocked, dissolving into digital dust before it ever even reaches the internal network.
And to take that perimeter defense even further, we add advanced layers. We implement Network Access Control, or NAC, which actually evaluates a device's security posture before it even thinks about letting it in. We use VLAN segmentation, which logically separates different departments, meaning even if an attacker manages to breach the marketing network, they can't cross over into the finance network. And we rely heavily on endpoint authentication, making sure both the user and the machine are fully verified. This makes sure corporate employees can connect securely, while rogue devices are automatically isolated. As you can imagine, all of these tools generate a massive amount of data, which is monitored by Security Operations Centers, or SOCs. Think of a SOC as this high-tech surveillance room with large dashboards just flashing real-time alerts. But obviously, humans can't sit there watching every single packet of data, so SOCs leverage artificial intelligence. AI continuously analyzes the traffic, tracks blocked IP addresses, and flags unusual login behaviors. It instantly notifies security analysts of potential threats so they can act way before a breach actually happens.
All right, let's bring all of this together in our final segment. Section 5, Essential Cybersecurity Best Practices. Let's talk about how to apply this to the real enterprise.
The crucial point here is that this isn't just for massive tech corporations. Just look at the industries that absolutely rely on strict port security. You've got banks protecting financial assets, hospitals securing sensitive patient records, government agencies, universities, manufacturing plants protecting proprietary designs, and yes, even small businesses. A breach in literally any of these sectors can be catastrophic. Strong port security prevents insider threats, it halts unauthorized access, and it ensures strict compliance with industry regulations across the board.
So, if you want to maintain a glowing, protective digital shield around your own network, here is your core playbook. Disable every single unused port. If you don't need the door, brick it up. Enforce strong authentication everywhere. Keep your firewalls enabled and properly configured. Constantly keep your hardware firmware updated to patch any vulnerabilities. Diligently monitor your network logs. Apply the principle of least privilege, meaning you only give users access to what they strictly need. And above all else, train your employees on cybersecurity awareness. Because at the end of the day, the human element is almost always the weakest link.
It's definitely a lot to consider, but it's really the only way to ensure your data remains safe. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If an attacker scanned your network's numbered doors today, like right this very second, how many would they find unlocked? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now take these lessons, lock down those ports, and go secure your network.